The basic fundamentals still apply, still very much a people business, still very much relationship, trust, and if we're in the middle of a crisis or a major breakdown, just get it dealt with.
So the McGeary family, one of the original names to come out of the screening sector in the north. Can you give us a background just on your family and how you've came to where you are today?
Yeah, so look, it's dad really. He's been in the business a long time, started with Power Screen back in 69 or 70 on the shop floor, and it's really, the business has evolved from there, and he's evolved from there, and we've evolved from there. It's all kind of followed together. Power Screen's a big part of our heritage, of our background, as it is of a lot of people's. A lot of other dealers around the world globally. A lot of competitors have sort of come from that background. So he was an engineer, young man, and just stuck with the business, and the opportunities to progress kept developing. And as Power Screen developed and flourished, so did his career and his opportunities. And he took every opportunity, took it with both hands, and that ultimately resulted in us coming across to England as a young family. And he then took on his own dealership in north of England, northwest in Warrington. It's just gone from there. The business now is worth 32 years this year, and pretty humble beginnings all the way. You can track them all the way back, and lots of people have done well using their initiative, their engineering background, their entrepreneurial mindset. It's a really positive story all over the place. And for us guys, feels like, there's still lots of opportunities to take a lot of the lessons that we've learned, and a lot of new lessons to learn, and continue to take the business forward.
And so from a young family moving across, I'm sure there was a lot of discussions internally from your family. Is like, right, we're going to leave the north, we're going to jump over and start an opportunity in England. So obviously, like, there has to be an entrepreneurial drive within your dad and within your family as a whole to try and do that. Was that difficult as a young child to follow across and start a whole new life somewhere else?
I don't think it was a long-term plan. It was like a lot of these things are. It was 6 months and then you'll be back, and it's gone from there. So I think really it was mum and dad, and we went along for the ride. It's only really looking back now when you realise the challenges of a young family, what it might have been like to move away and lose that support that you have from, grandparents and the like. But
of course,
for us at the time, it was just what we were doing, and really just got on with it. And it was always, the business, the industry was really front and center of Dad's life, and it was a big part of our growing up. And it was always seemed fun. There was always a good energy about it. There was always lots happening, great personalities, great stories being told, plenty of lies being told, and it was. But look, that's what it was, and it was a largely positive experience, and has continued to be so throughout my career.
Yeah. And so growing up so close to the industry and trying to follow it, you're seeing what your dad's doing, you're seeing what other people are doing. Was it always the place for you to follow into the machinery business? Is that always what the plan was? How did you end up in the business yourself?
Look, it wasn't a plan. These things just evolve. I was more drawn to the engineering aspect of it. So when I left school, I did an apprenticeship in engineering, and that was kind of where I thought I would follow my nose. But after I completed that apprenticeship, I did a couple of years working on the tools. But then, Dad said, "Look, come and give this a go. Come and give selling a go." And it probably wasn't a natural thing for me to want to do, but I did want to be involved in the business. I did want to get a feel for what it would be like. So that's when I got involved, and really then just incrementally, bit by bit over the years, got a bit more comfortable with the selling, got a bit more understanding of how it works, and the longer you're there, the more opportunity you get with a bit more territory and a bit more product. And then as it changed from being just a single line Power Screen distributorship, dealership, as then the blue group rebranding came on board, and the other brands joined the business, then it started to become really interesting, and you got a really much wider idea of what opportunities are out there, and where you can go with a business if you continue to evolve it and continue to lead it, and really get on the front foot, pay attention to what your customers need, pay attention to what your suppliers need, and execute in the right way. So it's just been a constant evolution ever since I got involved, and thankfully it looks and feels like there's plenty more that will evolve over time.
Absolutely. And so, like, the initial conversations, right? So you guys just started off just Power Screen. How did that initial conversation go? Is like, right, we're actually going to branch out into more brands. Was that driven by the brands, or was it driven by just needs from speaking to customers out in the road?
I think it was based on there was certainly an appetite from customers for other products. There was also, as a regional dealer, so we were a regional power screen dealer based in the north of England. The other regional power screen dealers were regional. And I think there was a realization that, as regional businesses, there's a limit to what brand you can get, how you can, what brand you can attract. There's still, even today, it does feel that, the national coverage is a very appealing prospect to, certain type of players in the sector. So there was a realization that if we could get, the better the brand you can get, the more business we could do with our existing businesses. And there was a common challenge with the other regional dealers. So Dad joined forces with Scotland and the Southwest and the Southeast. And together, forming one brand gave the guys the opportunity to create a national presence. And by being aligned, by being coordinated, that opened the door to us getting access to, what we considered to be leading brands. So, Power Screen, we would consider that to be, the leading brand in crushing and screening globally. And getting access to Dobstat was a similar step in that direction in shredding and waste recycling. So it sort of set a bit of it started to give us a sense of what the art of the possible was and what we could do, and a lot of success with that. And then over time we've added other brands. The Fuchs brand is similar, and the attachment brands, all leading brands. But it really an evolution that was born out of almost a necessity. The prospect of being a single product dealer wasn't what it had been like in the previous years. So yeah, that's how it came about.
And was there difficulty in those early days, convincing other regional dealers to join together, or was that very much, like a necessity to build that out because we needed to bring other brands because we need to service the customers that we're all having? Was that the case? Because I know it's difficult even bringing two strong minds together, but bringing 3 or 4 companies together must have been a hell of a wrangling.
I think the guys were very aligned. Austin, Brian, and Eugene all had history in Power Screen. That was really their background, their heritage. So they all shared that sort of spirit, that drive, that fun. The guys got their heads together, figured out, well, it makes more sense, working together, clubbing their resources, and regionally, very, very effective businesses. So if we could satisfy suppliers from a national point of view, then ticks a lot of boxes, and it really did. So the guys were very aligned, very clear on what they were trying to do, and it worked, and it took off with a bang, and has continued to develop ever since.
So Aiden, your career, right? So you started off, a bit on the tools, then you went into sales, started getting, more coverage. Now you're MD. How was that? How did that role come about? How did you move from that to the position you're in right now?
I just stuck around. Nobody else gave me a job, so I was here. And I guess if you put the time in, that's part of it. But look, I guess, and that's probably not a million miles off. Dad's always been very keen for me and Sean to develop, and he's always been keen for anybody in the business to create opportunity for people to progress. He's always been a great advocate of that. So he's always believed in that, and I guess he's wanted to give us, every opportunity he can, and unfortunately, the business has grown in a way that has allowed that to happen. So it's one thing forcing it if it doesn't really work, but actually, and we've always been quite fortunate in that, we all work actively in the business, but we're not on we're not stepping on each other's toes. There's enough going on that we've got our own space and our own corner to work in. So we're pretty fortunate that we've had that room, and Dad's always had his other projects. And, over time, myself and Sean probably demonstrated that, we can take on more and more as time goes on, take on more responsibility, consistently have, managed with the rest of the team to deliver good results. So I guess it's just, we've had time to incrementally develop, grow in confidence, and that confidence has been reciprocated. And that's, time is probably a big part of that. I certainly certainly wasn't qualified for the job when I got it, and it's only been allowed to develop in it that I probably would be fairly confident of my ability today, but not so in the early days. But I got the leg up, and that's really very, very appreciative of that.
Yeah, of course. And obviously, drive, ambition, vision, all those things have helped you sort of get to where you are today. Because I'm fortunate enough to know you and your family, and, the sort of admiration you have for customers, for the brands that you represent, shines through. It's like a family business, but you guys obviously have grown with the companies, because maybe the companies that you're dealing with now are huge companies, but they didn't start off that way, just the same way you did. So you guys have really grown with the customers that you've been lucky enough to serve. So in that time, how have you seen the industry change throughout your career? Starting with smaller guys, and now maybe you guys are dealing with the big guys in the market, and you guys have grown with that. So how have you seen the industry change?
I think we've seen a lot of companies around us grow with us. We've seen the supply chain. A lot of those companies have. There's been a bit of consolidation with some of our suppliers have been taken over by bigger, larger companies, but the brands still exist. But a lot of our suppliers are still privately owned, family businesses, 30, 40, 50, 60 years old. And that kind of speaks to, and our relationships with some of them are as long as that. And that speaks to, one of our values that we talk about is longevity, having that long term, a bit referring back to, how I'm in this position. You've just got to put in the miles, put in the time, and that's the same for our relationship with our suppliers and the relationship with our customers. And a lot of our customers have grown with us, or we've grown with them. A lot of them started out as smaller businesses. They've grown into bigger businesses. Some of them have gone through a consolidation exercise as well. Either they've become the consolidator or they've been consolidated. But we've seen a lot of that in the customer base over the last few years, and expect that will continue. So that's kind of we've had a similar journey to a lot of our customer base. The way the industry's changed is, our role in the value chain has changed. Going back a lot of years ago, it was quite transactional. It was, we buy from the supplier, we stock it, we sell it. Maybe we didn't even stock it. We got the order, then we bought it, then we sold it. And I guess that, there was probably a lower barrier to entry for other people to come in, competitors. But the business has really moved on now. There's the OEMs are they're much bigger businesses. They've got a very clear set of expectations, requirements, and we've got to be able to meet that. And the customers, on the other hand, their world is pretty reactive. They have very clear demands. So the gap that we have to bridge as a business has got wider and more challenging. But ultimately, that therein lies the opportunity, and I think that will just continue. And that's where we have to continue to evolve to serve our customers and our suppliers, and ultimately, develop the team to be able to do that on our behalf. Because the days of me being able to manage a sale and service a breakdown, you can't really do that effectively. You've got to really build up the team to take that responsibility on. So yeah, it's changed quite a bit, but it's also the basic fundamentals still apply. People want to just it's very much still very much a people business, still very much relationship, trust, and just being able to get stuff done, keep the machine running, keep productivity going. And if we're in the middle of a crisis or a major breakdown, just prioritize getting it fixed and then sort the issues out after. Just get it dealt with.
So as Blue has grown and the needs of customers and OEMs have changed, how do you manage that growth? Because obviously you can't just throw money and resources at getting more people. So you have to be more intelligent about the systems and the technology, et cetera, that you bring on to manage that growth. How has Blue managed that in terms of adding new systems to make you guys more efficient?
I guess we look around us, we look at other businesses similar to ours. The crushing and screening, the shredding, the waste is slightly more niche than, say, other plant machinery. But I think we follow a fairly similar trajectory to, say, the excavator market. We lag a bit behind that, but excavators probably lag a bit behind trucks, and trucks probably lag a bit behind cars. So if you pay attention to how those businesses have evolved and how much further ahead the truck guys are, the car guys are, and we don't deal with consumers, so we're not going to be exactly like some of those businesses, but you get a sense of what that looks like. As we've got into the excavator world with Develon, that was really, one of the big motivators for getting, partnering with Develon wasn't necessarily the access to the sales opportunity. It wasn't the sales revenue. It was as much about, getting in and around a higher volume product, which with it brings certain disciplines and processes that you just talked about. A lot of the process, so our supply chain are pretty process orientated. They're large organizations. They're very disciplined. They've got very clear guidelines on how they need to operate. Essentially, we're an extension of those suppliers, so we really have to embed and understand how we fit in there. So it's just talking to those guys, but you sort of have to make the commitment and then figure it out afterwards. But we kind of, I think we had a pretty strong sense instinctively that this was the right space in which we want to be. This is where we want to play, and exposing ourselves to those type of manufacturers and OEMs has then helped us be a better business for some of our other OEMs. So we bring some of that discipline, we bring some of that scale, we bring those processes, and then that allows us to, put certain people in places that, maybe we couldn't have done before. So I guess that hopefully that answers the question.
Absolutely. So in terms of challenges, obviously building a business like yours, Aiden, there's obviously been some challenges that are put in front of you. So what's been the greatest challenge of your career so far?
Greatest challenge? Look, I think it's probably around people, and it's probably around me personally, and it's just developing the confidence and the belief in my ability to, to progress and to, play the part that I need to play in how this business develops. Very easy to sort of find fault or, think, well, I'm not really going to be able to do this. But, I think that's the biggest challenge, is just having a good enough self-belief that, actually we can do this. We can take on a new brand. We can take on more real estate, another site. We can get the sales, we can execute the business, we can get the service vans, we can put all this together, and we can get a tune out of it. We can make it work, and we can then we can identify the next opportunity, and we can execute that. And then it's just around recruiting people, and people that move the needle, people that really make a material impact into the direction and the speed of travel of the business. I think those are ultimately the biggest challenges, and it's a constant one. It's not one hill you got to get over. It's there all the time, but it's also the most rewarding one then.
Absolutely. I agree totally. I think imposter syndrome, no matter what, everyone comes up with a bit of imposter syndrome, but having that self-belief and determination, just sort of to will it through is what makes successful people successful, ultimately. So final question, Aidan. What future trends do you think are going to make the most impact in the industry going forward?
I don't know specifically, but I'm pretty sure it's all based on technology. Personally, we're trying different things. We've been working with you for quite a while, trying to understand what works, what doesn't work. And look, truth be told, and I often get asked this internally. What are we doing? Where is this going? Where is it landing? And I still struggle to articulate some of it, but ultimately, I do believe it's a fundamental trend of where this business goes. And I think it's a combination of the traditional stuff. I think it's people. I think it's been able to engage with that's still fundamentally the cornerstone of the success. Being able to engage with people, understand the nuance of people's businesses and challenges, and the problem somebody has with a digger, but they don't have it with a crusher, but they might have it with a shredder. This is still, you still need that people. So it's having the really solid capability around us, ultimately important. But I think in terms of a trajectory, in terms of really moving the needle, technology, and it's really how we integrate it, how we mesh that together. Because you could have technology over here and great people over here, but if you can't knit it together, you're kind of working in isolation. It's understanding how that knits and how you leverage it, and that's really and it's probably a longish play. Probably takes longer. It doesn't happen overnight, but it's that relationship is really the thing that's going to unlock real success. And I'm not sure exactly what it is, but I'm fairly committed to keep exploring and keep sort of pushing the buttons and testing and trying stuff, because it's in there somewhere, and we'll have to wait and see. But you'll know at the same time as me.